Well, good morning everyone. Back for our usual stream. Boy, do we have some things to discuss with you all today. Really excited and looking forward to it. Can't wait actually. We are in pre-show though, so just make sure that if you don't want to watch all the stuff we're going to talk about now, because we've got about 15 minutes. If you don't want to watch the pre-show, basically tune in 15 minutes time. I will have a timeline down below, so you can go to that, and it'll give you a list of each story, so you don't have to watch this if you don't want to. So yeah, that's just a excuse me, a guide. Sorry if I am coughing still a little bit. It is getting much better though, so at least that side of it. But now I think I've got a bit of hay fever. I'm falling to pieces. What have we got? So let's see who's in here anyway. Oreo said he'll have to catch us later. He's gone to bed. Oh, I don't know, Oreo. We call it wuss in Australia. You've wussed out. Jamie's here, ready for all the Sony news. He was here a long time early, about an hour actually. Altrix also now popped in saying hi, hello as well. The Panda's in here. Been watching some of his latest videos with his new little camera that he's got. They've been interesting, his Micro Four Thirds camera. Gilbert has said, I can't stay awake any longer. Have a good show and I'll catch the replay in the morning. At least you made it to the start, Gilbert. The timeline is horrible, isn't it, between here and the UK, particularly. Zoe at Moments is in here, and also Hero. Greetings, coffee. Yeah, I'm having real coffee today. It's too early for me. What is it? It's 11:15. I probably could have had one, but it's actually quite a cool day today.
I can't get the answer to that on Apple Watch.
Stop it, Siri. You shouldn't do that. Isn't it funny how Siri sometimes comes up? Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So I don't think I'll be having a beer. I don't think anyway, not yet. The time zone now is different. We've just come out of daylight savings, and you guys have just gone into daylight savings. So now the time zones are completely opposite. So it's only 11:15 here. So cheers. I've still got my Sony mug though. Look at the bokeh. Hang on, let me show you the bokeh in the background. You ready for this? Bokeh. Bokeh-licious. Woo-hoo-hoo. I love it. Yes. That'll probably get me a downvote immediately. What is wrong with those guys that keep downvoting videos? It cracks me up. You know, I was talking to Kerry about it the other day. And it's quite funny because I put the videos up and immediately I'll get 2 or 3 downvotes. And they can't have even watched the video. Like, it cracks me up. I just thought, and I said to Kerry, I've never downvoted a video in my life. Because if I don't want to watch something, I just wouldn't watch it or I wouldn't be subscribed to it. Now, those people must be subscribed to me to see, because they do it every single time. So they must be subscribed to me. So they're obviously extremely jealous people. Or they're just complete haters, and it cracks me up. I just laugh about it, and I think, oh my God, it's ridiculous. It really is funny. I wish YouTube would show you who they are, because it'd be so funny to hit them, slam them back with it all. But basically just losers. I love it. It just cracks me up. And they don't realise that they're also giving you a watch time anyway. So you're getting a hit out of them anyway. And that's what cracks me up. I think it's absolutely hilarious. Kerry and myself always laugh about it. Cheers on real coffee. So far away if you have any questions, guys, because we are on pre-show time. I've got 12 up already, which is fantastic. What's in that coffee? No, it's real coffee this time. It's not a fake coffee. Casey would be so jealous. I love it. I don't think Casey would be downvoting. He cops them as well. What else have we got in here? Langston says, look, YouTube put the downvote button for a reason, and they make sure people use it. Laugh out loud. Panda said, someone tell Sony to stop lying about their cameras isn't ready. We know that they are waiting for a child like Canon to release the new camera first, maybe. I'm going to talk all about that shortly, guys. Rui's saying hello from Alabama. The Panda said the Sony hype is not the type. Laugh out loud. Langston said Sony is saving their powder to respond to any additional releases. Maybe. We're going to go all through these new releases today, though. Courtney says, great show, keep it up, man. Thank you so much, Courtney. It's the angry photographer. I love it. It might be too, you know, particularly the second that he sees Sony. I mean, who honestly, look, let me say this to you. Who on earth can say that I'm a Sony fanboy? Now, come on. Seriously. Who in their right mind would ever say that I am a Sony fanboy? Now, why do they get that opinion? You know, I mean, seriously, whatever gives them that opinion? Ooh, I'm going to talk about this shortly too. Ooh, I love it. I don't know why Ken would be upset with me. David, I like your orange shirt. I know, how cool is this, Angel? I love it too. It's fantastic. I love it as well. And I've got a black one, and I've also got neutral grey ones. I just love it. By the way, guys, if anyone in the UK and wants to get the Sony 135, buy it from Jessop's. I'm still waiting. I was told 6 weeks. Come on, Sony Australia. This is ridiculous. Like, people overseas are getting it. When I pre-ordered it originally, they told me I'd get it in the middle of the month. And it's the 26th now. So I phoned them up to say what's going on. And they told me that due to really high orders, it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks until I could get it. I mean, by then, and it's important for me as a YouTuber to get these things reasonably early because I like to review them and get it out so you guys can see how, you know, they work. And if I'm getting it 6 weeks later, Sony, where's the love? Like, where's the love? Come on. Where's the love? Get it out to these Aussie YouTubers. If I probably asked them to send me one, they'd probably say they never had one in stock. I tried to get one when I was doing my Sony, the 20,000 subscriber thing, and they said there was none in Australia, but I don't know. It's a bit awful when you can get stuff like this amazing Sigma that they're supporting a local YouTuber. Aren't they? I mean, look at that. So Sigma, is the 105, which I'm going to talk about as well. From C.R. Kennedy sent me that. But Sony, come on, support your local YouTubers down here. Give us a bit of love. We need all the help we can get down here. So please, if you're watching this, Sony, send me one so at least I can review it. And the other one is the Wireless Go, the Rode Wireless Go. What's going on, Rode? You're an Australian company, and I've had the pre-order in for ages, and they're being delivered in America. What's going on? Oh, this is the pre-show rant. I love it. So, Rode, I've had it on pre-order for a month. What's going on? I asked them also for a review one. I sent them an email the other day. I probably won't hear back from them either. Oh, I tell you, Australian companies often are absolutely hopeless. They really are. They just won't support local people. So let's keep going anyway. Let's get off this rant. I should have a beer, I think, to calm down. I'm going off. You need a Sony cap too, Mick. I know I do. I hope you're wearing pants. I am. Look, I'm wearing trackies. Tracky dacks. Look at this body. How good's this body? Seriously. This is going to get so many downvotes because I'm going to upset so many people already. I'm calling it. Someone said I'm the sexy beast, David. Oh, they're talking about the lens. I thought you were talking about me, Panda. Langston says, I wonder how they would think you are in the bag for Sony. The funny thing is, though, and this is what makes me laugh when they say that, Sony give me nothing. Look, they gave me some giveaways that I had when I had the 20,000 subscriber. But apart from that, I get nothing from Sony at all. I just love their gear. And, you know, I do love their gear. Hero said, I sent back my Sigma 105 as much as I love it. I really love it. It's just too big and it won't fit in my bag. I see you did send it back, Hero, did you? I am seriously thinking about getting one and also have the 135 Sony, but I'll talk about that a little bit later on when we do. It is huge, though. I mean, look, it is huge, but oh, my God. The results that this gives you out of this world, and I can't state that enough. And I'll talk about that in the first story, actually, because I want to go through about what I've done with it. So stay tuned for that. But where's my 135? Guys, if anyone is watching this from Sony, get me my 135, because the Americans have it, the Europeans have it. Where's the Aussie love? Come on, where's the Aussie love? I think I'm going to go get a beer so I can chill. 42 Pros is saying, good evening, everyone. JB is saying, hello. We are in pre-show time, guys. Tetsu Drug, I'm not sure how you pronounce that, says, when is the A7R4 coming out? Well, I'll talk about the new cameras soon, so let's leave that for a discussion. But I think that the only chance you've got of that being announced is late this year, if at all, at this stage. But it may be late this year. Courtney says, continue speaking about Sony. I switched from Canon to Sony. Casper said, sure you did. What are you talking about, Casper? Sure I did what? You're talking about that. No, I can't show it because it's got my details on there. I promise you, Casper, that I have pre-ordered the 135. And I've pre-ordered it through Michael's in Melbourne, the camera store in Melbourne. Hero said, yes, it's too huge. What needs to be improved in the A7S? We're going to talk about that shortly. Chris said, what do you believe will be the difference in the a9II and the a9? I'm going to talk about that shortly, Chris. Excuse the coughing, guys. Hero said, Lord Osler just held it up. Yeah, that's unreal. Sony says, relax, David. We get you to it later. I know. What? Sony. I want the 135. Please. You're letting me down with the A7000. You're letting me down with the A7S III. I want the 135. This 6 weeks business has to stop. It's ridiculous. Hero says, I'd love Sony to make a 105. Yeah, because Nikon do a really good one as well. They probably could make one that's smaller than this, but Hero, once you've used that lens, there's a rumor that Sony will provide the love after the A7000 ships. What love? So at moment says, if the rumor is ever true, I need to get the A99 as a second body, prepping for my 2020 weddings. Creative says, hey David, can't wait to hear about the A7S III. Hero said, just smaller. Yeah, smaller than that. G'day, I'm DeBrown. How are you? Philip said, evening. I am DeBrown says, got my wireless go on Friday. This is what I said, I am DeBrown. Rode is an Australian company. What is going on? Rode, if you are listening to this, look after your Aussie people, your Aussie subscribers or clients. It's ridiculous. Hero says, 30th of the 4th is when Adorama said the pre-orders are getting sent out. So it's going to be interesting to see, though, if the pre-orders are going to be held up with the 135. Because if what Sony have told Michaels when they asked for me, that due to the massive pre-orders, delays were going to be 4 to 6 weeks, I'm just wondering, is there going to be a lot of people that are going to be very upset about not getting their pre-orders for a fair amount of time? Robert's saying hello. Fritz is saying yo. Chris is saying good day for a Corona. Yeah, it's a bit early for me, Chris. Gathers said, wait, are you live right now? Did I? Yes, you did, Gathers. You've actually caught me live. Nice to see you in here. Langston says, all right, cheers. Off to the movies. What else have we got? Panda says, no David talking about the camera. Joanne said, okay, I'm sure that there's something in that coffee. I wish there was. I should go and get my Corona. I haven't got any of the dark beers at the moment. I've only got Coronas over there. If this goes long enough, I might just go and get one. Is that a Sony watch and glasses? No. The Apple Watch and I don't know what the glasses are. I think they're Ray-Ban, I think. Gene says, have you seen the Samyang Rocky-On 85? Yes, it looks great, Gene. That Rocky-On actually looks really good. For the price that you're getting, the early reviews that I've seen, I watched one yesterday and they actually said it was sharper than the G-Master. So it looks like it's a really nice lens. I'd love to do a review of it, actually. Who's contacted me? No one. Well, if you're having issues in Oz with getting the 135, well, be the same in New Zealand. Not that I can afford it. Yeah, it's the same. Let me just quickly go through this. Excuse me, guys. Sorry about this cough I've still got. Ricrat said, still waiting on the A7000. Henry said, STC Optics drop-in filter for the Sony full frame works well. Little to no color cast, ultra wide angle lenses. Sigma 105 users will be very happy. Yes, they will. It's an interesting product. There was a couple of reviews about them breaking and also some light leaking. But it does definitely seem like an interesting product. Fritz said, love bugs. Don't know what that means. Hawaii says, any info on the telephoto? Is that the Tamron? No, not yet. Carl says hello. Wayne says hello from Calgary. Aristro says, hi David, let's get started. Yep, we're going to start now. Eddie says, hello David, greetings from Belgian beer country. Yum yum. And that'll just about do. I think Kevin says, got the new Sigma 104 yesterday and it's my favourite lens. Oh, Kevin, I adore that lens. I really do adore it. I really do. All right, let me just pull over and we'll start the show, guys. So bear with me just for a second. Now I need to start the timer. Okay. G'day everyone, we've just had our pre-show. It's been really good fun actually, just going over a number of things. I've got some great stories to talk to you today, obviously about the new possible A9, the A7S, things like that we're going to go through as well. So some really great things. I thought I'd start today just talking about my Sigma 105, just to show you a few images that I've captured on that. There is a couple of videos now that I've posted, and a new one will go up tomorrow talking about sort of using the Sigma in backlighting scenario in low light focus. So that's going to go up tomorrow. My Patreon users have had it for a couple of days, so they've already been looking at it and enjoyed the video. So stay tuned for that one, which will be up tomorrow. So apart from that, like I said, we've got stacks to go through today. Really looking forward to it. We've got 123 watching, guys. If you can, please give me a thumbs up. I know I say it a few times, but as I'm not sponsored by anyone, it does help because it brings other people into the channel. So I really would appreciate that if you could do that for me. Apart from that, if you're watching live, or not watching live, I should say, there is a timeline that's down below that you can skip to the story that you're interested in if you want to. So you don't have to go through stories that you don't like. So please don't whinge about the show being too long. It'll be all in the timeline. Just skip to the stories that you actually want to look at. Apart from that, though, the shows are always long because, like I always say to everyone, and we say this, it's like a group of mates hanging around having a drink, just talking over some articles and talking about them together. So that's really what this is all about. So before I start, let me just bring up C.R. Kennedy. I just wanted to mention this company that's, well, they're not sponsoring me, but at least they've supporting me in the fact that they're sending me some lenses that I can use. And not only lenses, they'll be able to send me some other gear as well, like lighting and things like that, because they basically sell everything. So if you are in Australia, all around Australia, and also New Zealand, because they're in every state, please support C.R. Kennedy, because they've at least started to send me stuff. Now, they're not saying I have to tailor the reviews. They're saying be genuine. So they're not asking anything from me, and that's a great thing about this. But, you know, this company basically sells everything from cameras, lenses, drones to bags. You can see there. They also sell studio lighting, things like memory cards, flash drives, etc. They also do photo accessories like ND filters and tripods and heads and everything as well. And they also sell a whole stack of other gear too, like for the medical industry, everything else. They're a huge company here, fantastic service and things. They don't sell Sony cameras, but they definitely sell things like the Sigma lenses for Sony and things like that. So please support them if you can. And lastly, please join our photography videography school. I notice Aaron's just in. G'day, Aaron. So please join this. You have to put the and, like I'm showing you over here if you want to join it. So it is photography and videography school. This is a site that I'm setting up for basically all of my YouTube channel and also Aaron as well. We're sharing all of our stories on here, but we've allowed people to share everything. So they're putting on video. Remember, this is photography and videography, so I'd love more videographers in there as well. But people are sharing everything to do with phones, images, their website, rumours about latest gear. You can see here photography secrets of David Yarrow as well. Gerald's always sharing news on there as well. But please join us. You can share your Instagram feeds. You can share everything. This is another one, Portrait of Holly, which was a really good video that I watched this morning. So please join us on that because I'd love to have you all on board. We now are up to 4,310 members. So it is growing very, very fast. So please join us on that site. It's a great area. The other thing too that I'm setting that site up so that it's a non-abusive site because unfortunately a lot of the pages that are out there are full of prima donnas and nasty people that will just rip people to shreds the second they post a photo. If anyone does that on my site, the administrators have been told they get one warning, second time they're out. So you're not going to have that abusive sort of culture that you're getting in a lot of other sites that are out there. So, you know, you feel safe to share and things like that. Love to have you on board. Like I said, I'd love to have more videographers on board, and I'd also love to have more females on board as well. So please join us if you haven't joined us there. So I wanted to talk first about the Sigma 105 because I've got this for another week. I don't want to let it go. I really do not want to let this thing go. Absolutely have adored using this lens. Now, yes, it's decent weight, but the funny thing was, and I can't believe I'm saying it, I actually enjoyed shooting with it. I love the handle underneath due to the fact that I can hold that when I'm taking the image and, you know, bring that sort of elbow in underneath me there and then take the shot like that. I'm also using it with the battery grip as well on the A9, and that does make it much, much better to use due to the fact that I can then hold it this way and it's sort of more balanced. Look how big it is. It cracks me up. I mean, it looks huge when I see it there. But beautiful. Made beautifully. It's got weather sealing that's built. It's built like a tank. And I'm not just glowing about this because I actually adored using it. Like, not the weight. I mean, look, I wouldn't want to carry it around for a whole wedding. But I would love to say grab it out occasionally and use it because the results that I were getting were outstanding. And I'm just going to show you a couple of images that you can look at. So we'll look here. So these are just a few of the images that I've taken with this lens. And honestly, I would probably say it's the sharpest lens I've ever used. And I wanted to shoot things at 1.4 to test how well this camera went. And look at the separation with Matisse there. It's a pity I can't blow this up because it's just a preview. But the separation of Matisse is incredible. And that's the one thing that I loved about using this lens was the separation that I was getting with the background with not being even too close. And that's the amazing thing about this lens. Like, it was just absolutely superb. And I really did enjoy and loved using it. You know, it was super sharp, really sharp. I mean, that one's been heavily edited, but gorgeous to use. Now, let me just see if I can open up. I'll just show you a sneak peek of the video that I'm going to put up on the weekend. I'll show you these first too. These ones as well, I was standing across the road shooting at 1.4 with Matisse. And you can still see that even though I was probably 10 meters away, there's still separation in the background. And that's what I adored about this, that you can have that distance away and still get beautiful separation in that background. And I just adored using it. I love the color. I love the sharpness that the lens get, and also the out of focus area is so soft. It's just beautiful. I mean, it really is just gorgeous to use. And let me just show you. These were the ones that you'll see in the video that I'm posting tomorrow, because I know Aaron said that there was issues with back light focus. Oh, I wonder what that did. That was weird. Well, I can tell you that the back button focus on the A9, backlit images on the A9 and the low light focusing of this camera was quite good. Look, it's nowhere near as good as using my Sony lenses. So it doesn't have the keeper rate with sort of heavily backlit images, but there was only a few that were out of focus. Most of the images were amazing, like what I'm showing you here. Just beautiful. And it was absolutely gorgeous, and again, these were shot at 4.5 though, because I wanted to keep some detail in the background due to that heavy lighting that was coming in from the background there. But I did just wanted to show that yes, with the A9, using the lens where it's heavily backlit was pretty good. I wouldn't say it's excellent, but I'd say it's pretty good. Like I said, it's not as good as what my Sony lenses are, but the results just talk for themselves when you nail it. And I did have a few that were out of focus, but most of them were in focus. There may be more issues with it though if you use the a7 III. I might try and use the a7 III in perhaps the next videos that I do during the week or something. I might try the a7 III as well. It's stunning. Like I said, it's probably the sharpest lens that I've ever used. Ever. It's that good at 1.4, and I really didn't shoot much stop down. I probably should have, because I can imagine what it must be like. The image that I show in the next one, where it shows the port itself, was shot at a higher aperture, and you'll see how sharp that is when you look at that. It's outstanding. The downside, obviously, is its size, because it is... like I said, it is a big lens, and it is a big honking lens, but there's some advantages with it. Look, the weight is a disadvantage. A couple of things that I'm worried about, and like I said, I'm going to get the 135. It's on pre-order. I've just got to wait for it. But I'm tempted to get that as well. Now, due to the fact why I'm saying that is that when I was dealing with photographing Matisse, that's not a bad lens for shooting full body. And I was a fair way away shooting Matisse with that lens to get full body, and I was still getting that beautiful depth of field that was there. The 135, now I may find that I've got to go too far back to get full body, because like I said, I was probably 10 meters away with those images where I showed Matisse in front of that building. So I was a long way away. Now, if it was a 135, I would be much further back. So I'm thinking 135 may not be the best for full body type shots unless you have an awful lot of room with your subject. And that's the problem. Like a lot of weddings, there's no way you could use that in most interior buildings and things like that. Whereas I probably could use this in an interior building, because I used it with the boat. Tracking was incredibly fast, and I didn't show it on this one, but let me just see if I can grab these ones. Tracking was incredible, and I was amazed at how well the tracking on this lens went. And this was on the back of my daughter's boat, and this was bouncing around like crazy, and I was using the A9. I had it on tracking mode, and it was unbelievable. Let me just bring it back, how well this worked with autofocus. It was amazing. Like, it did not let go. Now, the A9 was probably part of that, though, obviously. But I was worried about how it would track. I think that was the last one, yeah. That's just another one showing how beautiful the rendering is in that background with Matisse. But, like I said, I've got a million of these that I shot. I just shot in silent shutter. 20 frames. Well, I don't know. It's probably 15 or whatever it is on a non-Sony lens. But the focus was incredible. And honestly, I probably got 90% hit rate, probably higher than 90% hit rate. And like I said, the thing was bouncing around. I was really jostling. I was laughing that much because, you know, with all the waves and everyone coming past, it literally was sort of like this. And the lens not having stabilization, it shows how great it is having a camera with stabilization as well. So the focus was amazing. So there's no reason why you couldn't use that for sport. So I am thinking, I'm going to wait until I get my 135 Sony lens, but I am thinking about buying one of these as well, due to the fact that I would adore to use one of those for portraits and also for weddings where I can grab the full bride, or I could grab a full photo of a model, where the 135 I might be a little bit far away. Excuse me. I've got a feeling that the 135 might be much better if I deal with it. I've got to get myself away. If I deal with it with, say, doing half body, like head and shoulders, because you're not going to have to step back that far. But the 135, after using this 105, I think you must have to step back a long, long way, and that's the thing. Mark said the 135 against the 105 does not give you much more separation, maybe because the 135 is 1.8. Yeah, the separation is stunning on that lens. I mean, it really is stunning. And like I said, tack sharp. It really is tack sharp. So that's all I wanted to talk about that, because I just thought it was amazing. Anyway, so that's basically that. So let me go up to the next story, which is the first story. We're going to go over the Sony A9 rumours. So what's that? 1444. All right, so let's go to this. Let me come over to here. And I wanted to talk about this because there's some interesting things, rumours going around that we're talking about. There's a reliable source. This is an SR4 on Sony Alpha rumours, talking about, I'll just put in here next story too, or first story. Saying an a9II in September. And this was quite interesting, and I wanted to talk to you all about this, about the difference, say, between are they going to release an a9II or are they going to release an a7S3 first? So I might wait on that for a second, but I'll read this, what they're saying anyway. They're saying it comes from a reliable source, they're saying, who predicted these lenses that came out. So he did predict them, but he also missed the a6500 and the a9 rumour, and a couple of others. So you just can't tell half the time with what the rumours are saying. They're now saying that there's a 70% chance that this info is correct. And so it's interesting. And now they're also saying down here, due to the Tokyo Olympics, and they have to release a new camera early enough so that professionals can test it thoroughly. So this is quite interesting. So there are now starting to be rumours, but I knew there'd be rumours coming out about an a9II. It had to start happening fairly soon. But remember, I don't think the Olympics are until July. So I still don't believe, and this is my feeling, I still don't believe that we're going to see an A9 released until the start of next year. That still gives people 6 months to prepare for this camera. Now, I believe the people that are going to be shooting the Olympics with the Sony cameras are already known by Sony anyway, and they will probably get early access to a beta version of this camera anyway. You just won't know about it. So that's going to happen. So I think, and let me explain why I think this is going to happen. Sony would have spent an awful lot of money and resources doing the firmware update that they just did. Now, that's not an easy thing to do. That would have taken a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of resources to give us that new amazing firmware that is in the A9. And they're also going to give another one in the US summer, so I think around July or June, July. That's where we get the animal IAF and the intervalometer put into the A9. This is why I don't think we're going to see an a9II this year, because they're still giving us major firmware updates to that camera. They're still have a lot of resources and money and time that are being built into that camera. And I can tell you that there's nothing in the marketplace that can touch the A9 now. With that new firmware update, I just showed you the images that I was capturing with this big honking lens, and I had an incredible hit rate, with a boat that was bouncing all over the place with me going like this. The tracking was locked onto the girls in that raft and did not let go. There's nothing can touch the A9 at the moment. That firmware gave us basically a new a9II. I would have paid for that camera as a completely new camera for the upgrades that have been put in that camera. It's that big a jump. And all of you people that have the A9 know exactly what I'm talking about. And there's still more updates to come. I think we need the a7S III first. Now, we do need that first, and the next story is going to discuss that. But I think we need the a7S first or an a7000 first. And I've mentioned this before because Sony they are lacking in the video side of things. They're not lacking in the still side at all. But they are definitely lacking in the video side of things. They're definitely lacking 4K 60. Now, I know some of you don't want 4K 60, but a lot do. And if you don't want it, you don't need to use it. But they're definitely lacking 4K 60, and they're definitely lacking higher bit rates in their video files, because what are we locked out at 100 megabits per second, whereas cameras like the Fuji, the Nikon, and others, I think even the Canon, are getting up to 400 megabits and even giving you RAW and things like that, externally. So I don't think the A9 needs to be updated yet. If they've released an A9, and I do believe there will be a new A9 for the Olympics, because it's probably the time that Sony needs to do it. But I don't think there's any hurry. Like I said, the people that are involved in the Olympics, 90% of the photographers at the Olympics are going to be shooting Nikon and Canon. I can tell you that for sure. There'll be a small group that will be shooting Sony. That small group that are shooting Sony will be known to Sony, and they can test that camera early. They will probably have beta prototypes that they're testing now or whatever, or soon. So, and we just won't know about it. I think what will happen is it will come out in the new year. That still gives everyone else 6 months to get used to the camera, get rid of any issues and bugs before the Olympics actually hit. So I don't think the A9 is going to be released. I'll be surprised, but let's see what happens. But I'll be very surprised after the latest firmware updates whether we get a a9II yet this year. I believe it'll be next year. But we can have a discussion about that in the comments below. I'd love to know your opinions, but I just don't think it's going to happen. So that's that story. I'm going to go to the next story, and then I'll open up to chat, because they're sort of related in a way. But let me go down here. I'm just putting times in so it's easy for later on. So what are we? 55. So the next story that I wanted to look at was this, because this is also interesting. Because the Sony manager, this is apparently a Russian Sony manager. I mean, there's managers everywhere, but this is this Russian Sony manager was saying that not all technologies are yet ready for the a7S III, and he's saying also expect an a6500 successor. Well, we knew that anyway, that we were going to get an a6500. Whether that's an a6700, whether it's an a7000, we're still waiting to see what that gives us, and we don't know yet. But the interesting thing here is that they're saying that the a7S III is not ready yet, and there's obviously big reasons why this is being delayed, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. But with the a7S III, they're saying in here, in order for this camera to become popular and break through as the a7S and the a7S II was, they need to have serious fundamental improvements must be added to it. My personal opinion is that not all technologies are ready for this. What can be improved in comparison with the a7S II? So that's that side of it. Now, they're saying down here that the Sony a6000 and the a7 7000, it sounds like Sony's next three cameras will be the a6700 or an a7000, followed by the a9II and the a7S III after that. So that's a really interesting statement. So they're saying the a6000 new series first, or the a7000, the a9 and the a7S III. So if I am saying what I believe is correct, that the a9 is not going to be released till next year, we may not see an a7S III release this year. I'm just laughing at Carl said Russians lie about everything. Oh, Carl. Better have a drink. So, reading that, this is my prediction. Are you ready? Are you ready for it? All right. I think we're going to see a a7000 or that series camera come sometime mid-year or just after that. Because like I said to you, they still have to answer the Fuji X-T3 and Canon and Nikon with the 4K 60 and the higher bit depths. I think that is probably going to be an amazing video camera, and they may say try and get less rolling shutter and things like that, because rolling shutter is an issue in the A6400 and 500 series cameras. So I think that may be the only camera that we see released again now this year. Looking at what their specs are now, I'm going to open this up in a discussion in a minute, but this is my opinion. I don't think we're going to see the A7S III this year. I don't think we're going to see the A9 this year. I think they'll be announced sometime this year and they'll be released sometime next year. And there's reasons why I think this is going to happen. So, I'll tell you why. After looking at that rumor that guy was saying, and we continually hear from Sony that they want to exceed expectations and everything else, I think this is the big one. I think that the A7S III is going to be global shutter. Now, I think that Sony have decided to basically do what they did with the A7 III and the A9. I think they've decided to blow everything that is anywhere out of the water with the A7S III for video. And I think that's what's probably going to happen. So I think they were possibly going to announce something earlier, but due to the fact that they weren't really pushed, they've changed probably their whole thinking with that camera, and now it's just gone out to a point where they want to blow every single thing out of the water. And I think that the A7S III is going to be the first camera that we're going to see with a global shutter, mirrorless camera like that will be the first global shutter camera that we're actually going to see. I think that Sony are willing to make people wait to give us something that is absolutely incredible and totally game-changing. Now, I really think this is what's going to happen, and I've thought about this a lot over the last few days and how everything is just continually being kept back. If they brought out an A7S, there's no way that would be, there's no way that an A7S, if they did one now, a global shutter would probably come for another few years. But I think Sony are ready, and I think they're more ready than what you believe they're ready. And I think that's the thing that's now holding them back. So I think the A7000 is going to be the camera that's announced that is going to tide people over until the A7S III is announced. Because I think you'll find that the A7000 is going to be, it's going to have 4K 60p, it's going to have less rolling shutter. We don't know what sensor is going to go in that. It's probably going to be the same as the Fuji X-T3 or a bit better. It's going to have less rolling shutter. It'll have better focus, obviously, because it's now going to have the new tracking algorithms in there. It's going to have probably higher bit depths, so we'll probably get up to, you know, these higher bit depths. It may even have raw recording. They may even give that to us, because if Sony then do bring out an A7S with a global shutter, that is going to be the massive difference. That's going to be the thing that changes everything. And I do now believe that is probably where it's going to move to. So I think the wait now is just Sony developing that global shutter. And I really do now believe that's what's going to happen. No rolling shutter at all. It's gone. It's going to be incredible for video. They could give us internal electronic NDs inside that camera as well. So I think waiting for that camera is going to be worth it in the end. And in a way, I commend Sony now when I think about it for doing that. Because if I'd got to say late this year, I bought an A7S III, and then a year later they brought out an A7S with a global shutter, I'd be going, oh no, I shouldn't have bought the other camera. So I think that's what's going to happen. They keep saying that they're going to exceed customers' expectations. That guy there, that Russian guy, has said that he also says that the technology is not ready yet. Well, what technology can't be ready yet? I mean, we've already got 4K 60 out there. There's already high There's already high bit depths that are out there. There's already RAW shooting out there. So the only real thing that can be added is this global shutter. And that's why I'm saying stay tuned, guys, and let me know if I'll tell you if I'm right, but I'm picking it now. I think the a7S3 is going to be next year sometime, and I think it's going to have a global shutter. I think the only camera that we're going to see released this year now is going to be the a7000 or whatever that is. And we may see an A9 released at the end of the year or at the start of next year. But the big one is going to be the A7S3 with the global shutter. So stay tuned. So let's open up the chat because I'm really curious to know what you guys think. Whether you think I'm just way off the track or whatever. Come down here. Aaron's just saying he agrees with Sony on the A9 time frame. Gerald says the A9 is unbelievable now. Got great shots of other moving boats while shooting from another moving boat rocking on the waves of the ocean. Yeah, and I agree. Like, I can't explain. I should have had Kerry filming how bad that was in that boat. And to get that hit rate with that lens, which is unstabilized, such a big lens, and a 105mm like that, and get that rock solid tracking and dead on autofocus. I mean, there was water flying everywhere. It was incredible. And like I said, to have a hit rate of over 90% under those conditions, what more do you want? Like, it's incredible. And Thomas said, perhaps the A9 firmware update is just for everyone to try out before they release the final version on the a9II. Philip said, looking to renting the 100-400 GM for wildlife. Yeah, it's a great lens, that 100-400. I enjoyed it when I used it, Philip. Jake said, I think they released a new firmware for A9 and dropping in price is intentional to sell a bunch of A9s before they release the a9II. It's a smart marketing scheme to sell hardware. But there's still waiting lists for that, Jake. And this is what's interesting. Someone said to me they tried to purchase one in the UK the other day and there was a 4-week waiting list. I don't know if that's everywhere, but Gerald said 6 months is plenty of time for the next A9 release. Some pros will already have been involved in its testing. Exactly, Gerald. And that's why I think saying that it has to be released this year is flawed, because 6 months is ample time to test. And like I said, the ones that need to test it, they're already going to have it late this year. You can guarantee it. They may even be already in pre-testing. Rodell says A9S. You never know what they're going to call it. Mark said, this whole discussion makes me think how many current full-body literations one manufacturer needs. Yeah, I know. It does. It gets to that stage. I agree, Mark. Noel said, hey, greetings from Korea. G'day, Noels. Gerald said, I had 2 Russian wives and you're so right. I love it. Excuse me. What else have we got? Aristo said, now you are talking global shutter game changer. Yep. I reckon I think it's going to happen, guys. I think that's what the big thing, they keep hinting. Sony keep hinting all the time about this is going to exceed people's expectations. Well, if they say that, that can't be just what's already available. It can't be. Like I said, 4K 60 is mainstream now. Higher megabits is mainstream now. Shooting RAW is almost becoming mainstream now. So there has to be something else that's much, much bigger. It's a global shutter. Mick said, David Oser, I think Sony has done these updates in the current A9 to do all the pre-testing to see how far they can really push this current body and sensor. It is that good now, it's ridiculous. And I agree, it is ridiculous. It is almost like cheating. It is that good. Charles said, yes, the A7S3 will be global shutter and 8K video. Yep, that's also what I'm tipping to, is it'll have 8K video. Ricrat says, and if you say you won't buy A7000, we should expect you to walk by the camera shop and buy one. Well, I'm now starting to think that I probably will buy that if that comes out, Ricrat, because I don't think, if my prediction is correct, I don't think we're going to see another camera this year, and I'd like one for video. So I think I probably will get the A7000 when it's announced. And look, and if they bring out an A7S3 or whatever, perhaps I can sell it and then just buy the new A7S3 or whichever one meets my needs. Jim said, prediction a7S3, a9II in 2020, announced 219, maybe Jim. A7S3 with global shutter, Sony buys Fuji. Ooh, interesting. And you know what? The interesting thing is, when all this is probably coming out early next year, I am going to be out with you guys in the US. Just to break from that for a second, I have booked my full-on tickets now, so I'm actually out in... I've got to stop saying actually. Everyone always tells me off for it. I'm going to be out from the 10th of February until the 11th of March. So it is over 4 weeks with you guys. So I can't wait. And certainly as the time gets closer, we'll start organising meetups and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. But we're definitely staying out for 4 weeks now. We're definitely out for WPPA. Gerald organised the same accommodation as me, so anyone else can contact me if they want to. I'm just staying at Planet Hollywood. So you're welcome to come out with us as well. I'm trying to convince Aaron to join us as well. But I'm definitely coming out for 4 weeks. So stay tuned for more info on that as time goes on, guys. Now, Nivak said, I would rather wait 6 to 12 months for something amazing than get something mediocre. Yep. Now, I said the same thing. I was getting impatient, but now I am willing to wait due to the fact that I think that's what's going to happen. I think I'll probably just get the A7000 or whatever that is when it comes out. Now, I have been using this. I forgot to talk about this when I was doing Sigma, actually. So I have been using this all the time. Check out the videos and let me know if you have noticed much difference with the video side of things. I don't think the video is as good as this. Well, it's definitely not as good as when I'm using my A9, but it's still pretty good. I was using this, the Sony a6400 and the Sigma 16 1.4. I purchased this lens though. This wasn't lent to me at all. I purchased this once. Mick lent me one the other day, so I did go out and buy this one. This is the 16 1.4. Great for on a gimbal, so it really is nice for on a gimbal. Great lens, really sharp. Now I use this for all of the videos that you've seen with Matisse. So let me know what you think about the quality. I think the quality is pretty good. I don't think it's not as good as when I shoot my A9, but the quality is pretty good. And what I did like about it was Kerry did most of the filming on the gimbal. I did some of it where it was just Matisse walking and stuff, but Kerry was using this just on the Moser Air 2, Air Cross I mean. And it's beautiful and light, like it's great for her to use. What a fantastic gimbal camera. So that's what I use for that. So I probably will now buy a A7000 replacement. So if that's announced first, I probably will just jump in and get that. And then if they announce this amazing new A7S3 later on, I'll probably get that. So, you know, that's probably what I'll use. But check out the other videos and let me know what you think about the quality. It's pretty good considering I was using that combo, the A6400, the 16mm. No one mentioned that it looked different than before. I noticed the first one, which shows Matisse walking down the laneway in the last video I posted. It's not quite sharp, and I'm not sure what happened there, but I still posted it in because I love the look of her walking down that laneway. I never have issues like that when I use the A9. So that was one image where it's not quite as sharp, but the others that I did on the day, or Kerry did on the day, are beautiful and sharp, like lovely and sharp. In fact, I probably should have turned the sharpening down a little bit. It probably was a little bit over sharp on that, but I'm always trying to work out what to use. With the Sony A9, I don't sort of need to do that, but with the Sigma 16, I may have to turn sharpening down a little bit in the standard profile. But let me know what you think if you've seen that video, the last two that I posted. And there'll be one up tomorrow too, guys, so you can let me know on that one as well. Back to these questions. Stacey said, Stephen said, if they release the a9II, the a7S3 and the a7000 at the same time, will your wife let you buy all three? I wouldn't buy all three though, Stephen. I only need I don't even think I'll probably get the a9II immediately either. I just don't need it. I mean, and this is the thing, I'll say this and I'll probably go out and buy it, but the A9 is the best camera I have ever used, especially with that new firmware now. It is unbelievable. So, I don't know. Look, I have to see what they offer with it, but you know, it's going to be interesting, and whether I even need it or not is going to be another thing, but I'll think about it. But I definitely need more of a video camera, so I need something that will give me 4K 60, and I need something that gives me higher bit depths in case if I need it for grading. That's why I'll probably get the a7000 and the a7S III. Stacey said, so here I have been saving up for the A9, and now I have been waiting for the a9II. I'd still jump and get the A9, Stacey. That is an incredible camera. It really is. If you can get that at the price now with 1,000 off, I get it. The a9II is going to be really expensive, I would say. It'll probably be like the introductory price. So I would get the A9 in a heartbeat. Excuse me. Os1 said, the a6500 now needs a software update on the light of the a6400. Why doesn't anyone mention this? Well, Os1, I don't think it has the processor to handle it. This is the thing you've got to understand. The a6400 has the, and this is where Sony shoot themselves in the foot by just saying it has the Bionic X or whatever processor that's in there. But they have said that the a6400 has the same processor as the a9. That's the difference. That's why the a7R3, that's why the a7iii, that's why the a6500 and the other cameras haven't got the focusing mode that the a9 and the a6400 has. I think it's a processor thing. It's different. There's just nothing I don't think you can do about it. It's not going to happen. Where were we? Tim said it would be a digital ND filter. They have it in some of their older cameras. Yeah, they have. And the FS7, I think, has a digital one as well. They also put it in the RX100s. That's got a digital filter in it, and it works amazing. I'd love them to put that inside a full-frame camera. Real says, David Osa, so Sony delay in the a7S III release to bring about a game changer. They better not leave out that flip screen. Mark said, there are several gaps in the lower end as well. Oswan said, yes, global shutter is the next big thing. Michael said, I was hoping global shutter on the a9II. I'm not sure if that's going to happen on the a9II, but I'm predicting the a7S III, yes. It could have it, but I'm not sure. Noel said, I don't even know what global shutter is. You have to just read about it, Noel, but it's a totally different technology that works in a completely different way. I think I've put a video about it before, actually, but I don't know. It's way back down. I did discuss what the whole thing is. Gerald said, yes, there are some gaps in lower primes, but not really anything else in the focal length. Are you talking about wider primes, Gerald? Because there are still gaps there, yes, that Sony have to fill. That'll come with time, though. Zoe at Moment says they can keep the flip screen if they include global shutter in 8K. Video 10-bit 422, 442 or 422 internal to QXD cards. Can I stay in your room? Yep, you can, Aaron. Mirala said, what about built-in ND filter? That's what I said. I think it may have that. We're hoping that. Gerald says, I will be there when you are there in the US, so looking forward to it. Come on, Aaron. Aaron said he's working on it. Casper said, if you pay for it, Aaron, I will be there. I'm just skipping through. Nivak said, if you're going to be in Vegas, LA, etc. for a month, there are tons of natural beauty in the American Southwest to see and lots to shoot as well. Make sure you get out of the cities. Yeah, and that's one thing I actually want to talk to you guys about, recommending me somewhere to go. I would love to go up north, I think it is, because then you have, it's not Yasmin, I can't remember the name, but there's those beautiful parks that are up north that I'd love to go and see up there. I'm not sure how far they are all out of LA, and whether I could hire a car and drive up there if a week's enough. So I'd love you guys to recommend to me sometimes what you think would be a good thing to sort of look at. Danny says, I will be getting out of the cities, yes, and I'd love to also have some shoots out of the cities as well. I want to also do a shoot in the Vegas desert as well. Like, I'd love to get out into the desert area and do some shoots out there. Danny said, still undecided for my trip for Japan, 28 to 70 or the 24 to 105. Well, the 24 to 105 has got much better reach if you need it. I mean, that's for sure. I probably would get the 24 to 105 if you're dealing with just a travel type lens, but I've got the 28 to 75 and I would just use that. But that's me. Others will tell you the 24 to 105. I love the Tamron. I'll tell you why I love the Tamron so much, because when I travel, and I do like to now take light, and Kerry likes to always use the same cameras, and she loves to take photos of the food, all things like that, like almost macro, and the Tamron gives me that ability. It also has 2.8 aperture, which is a massive difference between f4. So I would prefer the Tamron, but the 24 to 105 has much better reach. So it just depends on really what you want. And some are saying, yeah, better reach in Japan for that reach. Michael said, Jason Lanion's video on the a9, a7R2 and the a7iii seems to agree with many of your recent comments, David. He recommends the a9 with a recent price cut. And I talked about that before Jason did, Michael. I actually did a whole video on that not long ago, talking about that exact same thing and in which one I recommended for what. So you could check that out too. Jim said, there is a rumour the a7000 will be global shutter APS-C at 31 megapixels. I don't think so, Jim. I don't think the global shutter will be that soon. And I wouldn't think they'd put that in the a7000. They'll have to hold a little bit back on the a7000 to make you buy the a7S III. So I don't think we'll see a global shutter in that. Danny said, what about low light? Do I need 2.8 instead of 4? Well, yes, you do. Or take a fast prime. Philip said, would be getting all the nice updates, real-time tracking with the a7000. Yes, yep, definitely. That'll all be there on all the new cameras, I'd say. Nivak said, Death Valley, Bryce Canyon and Grand Canyon National Parks, Lake Powell, Arches Park, Moab, Utah, if time. Yeah, see, there's that much there that I could look at. I probably wouldn't have time for it all. Noel said, I shoot street photography at night with f4 and image stabilization. If the f4 has image stabilization, I would say they're both about the same. Aaron found that one. Aaron found it. So, David, here, your global shutter video. Thanks, Aaron. Oh, amazing. I can't believe you found it. What else have we got? Nivak said, also some places there. Rental car needed. Yeah, that's what I'll have to rent a car. Tim said, Jim, it would seem strange if the a7000 got global shutter and the a9 didn't. I don't think the a7000 is going to have a global shutter, guys. I really don't. 42 Pro says, David Oster, be sure to contact Manny Ordis or Jason Lanier to get the scoop on good locations. Yep. Bardapilla says, you can drive up to Yosemite. Yeah, that's Yosemite. From LA in less than 5 hours. Okay, well, that's nothing for us. Yeah, I mean, that's just a day trip. Well worth it to drive. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking that I might do, actually. Gerald says, all driving distances to great national parks and large, secure trees and desert locales. We will get some vehicles for sure. That sounds cool, Gerald. Just don't go wandering into Area 51. I love it. Anyone here own the Zeiss Batis 40 f2 and the Sony 55? How you liking it versus the 50? Oh, well, I haven't got the Batis, but I love the 55, Philip. I adore that lens. Why buy a Sony when you need higher bit rates and 4K 60 for video? It makes no sense. Loyalty before IQ. Well, that's going to happen in the newer cameras, though, Evie. That at the moment, yes, you can't. But you're certainly going to get that in the newer cameras that come out shortly. Rick says, Yosemite is 270 miles by car. Yeah, well, that's not too bad at all. James said, make sure you check out Nielsen NV. In Australia, driving those sort of miles is nothing. I could drive that, like I said, in a day trip. If it's 5 hours, no problem at all. America is beautiful. Pass for good vehicle entry in the national park and tons of other mountains. Like I said, you guys will give me heaps of stuff. Wouldn't it be easier for the A7000 to get global shutter? Maybe, but I don't think it's going to happen. What's the best value Mac option for 4K right now? The iMacs, definitely. I'm using a Mac Pro, but the iMacs are definitely the best ones. The 4K iMacs are best. Iron Brown saying you pronounce it Yosemite. Okay, Yosemite. And that's it. All right, so let's get on to next story, guys. That was an interesting discussion. Please, guys, too, if you can, love it if you could give me a thumbs up. I'd love to get to 100 likes if possible. So please, if you can. So what did I say down here? We're now on to... Oh, this is interesting, actually. What is it? 48. What are we on? 48, 45. All right, so this is really weird, and I'd love to know what you guys think about this, because I thought this can't be true, but it sort of makes sense in a way. That weird, and I checked this. I just went onto Amazon, and it is still currently unavailable. So Amazon, it looks like, have pulled the plug on the Sony 24mm pre-order. It's just saying currently unavailable. We don't know when this item will be back in stock. So it looks like, due to the fact that this is just so hard to get, that they've just given up on it. I noticed you can still pre-order it on B&H, but it just is limited qualities, and you know, first in order, whatever you'll get. So obviously you still have big waiting times for this lens. It just shows how hard Sony lenses are, excuse me, actually to get at this stage, like really hard to get. And I think you're going to find that the same thing is going to be the 135. So if you haven't pre-ordered the 135, but someone just said earlier that you could get it in some shops, you may be able to walk into a shop and just get one. Sometimes that does happen. But I think if you haven't pre-ordered it, you're going to be in for a long, long wait. It might be for the people that are pre-ordering now, you might have a 12-month wait on the 135. Due to what Sony, I was told, was Sony saying that the pre-orders for the 135 were just unbelievable, the highest that they'd ever seen. It's going to be interesting to see what's happening with that lens, because it's still hard to get the 24 now. And how long has that been out now? Is that 12 months? It must be. It's been out for a while, and you still can't get it. And on Amazon, that, like I said, I think they've just given up on that as well. So there you go. So that's that one. I'm not going to go to questions at this stage. So the next story is this one. Let me just put the time on. 50... 55. Oops, it's 55. The next story is this, and I wanted to just go over this fairly quickly because DxO have released the scores. Oh, someone just said they got the 135 delivered today. I hate you guys. I'm so jealous. So jealous, Doug. Good on you, mate. I'm so happy for you. This was DxO have just done scores of the Panasonic S1 and the a7S 3, and they're really just almost the same. You can see here that the Sony a7 III, let me just lower this down a little bit. Where are we? Sony a7S III has a overall score of 96. It beats the Panasonic by 1, which is 95. Portrait is 25. The Lumix is slightly ahead on 25.2. Landscape is 14.7. The Panasonic is 14.5. And for sports, it's 3730, 333. So that the low light is not quite as good on the Panasonic. And you can see there, out of all those cameras, after all this time, the a7 III is rated as the best overall camera in that range. But what this story is talking about is that they're saying that it's the same sensor. Now, I've read a lot of the comments, and people are saying, yeah, it was meant to be Tower Jazz or whatever, but the similarities are so close to these two sensors that most people are predicting that it's exactly the same sensor, and the differences are just the processing that they do with that sensor, because they write their own software related to that sensor. So it's an interesting article, but it does show how good the Sony a7 III sensor is, though, doesn't it? When you look at that and you think that's been out for a while now, you can understand why Sony aren't in any rush to update these cameras, because they're still holding their own. You're not talking about video here, but if you're talking about stills, Sony is still up the top. I mean, it's incredible what they've done, and the price of that camera. If you compare the price of that camera to those other cameras, what Sony have done with the a7 III is still unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. And I think that's an amazing thing. And if you're looking at it, that the dynamic range is holding up against that new Panasonic. There is a fraction there where the Panasonic is a little bit better. But overall, it's line ball, and really interesting. So I'll put all these articles down below so you can have a look at them, because I'd love to know your opinion about this. But it does seem like it's the same sensor, that it's that close, that, and then they keep talking. Every time you hear about something with Panasonic, they mention Tower Jazz or Fuji, and then it always turns out that it ends up being a Sony sensor. So I think it probably is a Sony sensor that's in that Panasonic anyway, just like it will be in the Nikon as well. Poor Canon. I mean, look at poor Canon. If you look at those figures, 89, Canon is getting smashed when you look at those figures. Really getting smashed. I mean, portrait's okay. If you're dealing with that, it's fairly close, and that makes sense because of what I've seen of that. It does look pretty close. Landscape, a little bit down, but low light is terrible if you compare it to what you're getting with the Sony and the other cameras. The others, like the Sony, the Panasonic, and the Nikon, are all pretty close, and I think that's because it's all the same sensor. Anyway, that's the interesting part about that. Again, I'm not going to go to questions because I'm just going to look at... I might just open it up for a minute. Is there many there? Yeah, I will. I'll just open it up for a second. So let me see what people are saying. Scott's just saying he's joined us. Thanks, Scott, for joining us. Oh, we're 97 likes, guys. We've only got 98. We've only got 2 more likes and we're 100. Thank you so much, everyone. Jim's saying, odds are good I can make it into WPPI and would love to meet up with you all. That'd be fantastic, Jim. Look forward to meeting you there, mate. ONG said, looking forward to the Nikon Z8 with 3 card slots. Well, I'm looking forward to that as well, and I really do hope they improve that. I'm sure they will. But the D6 is the next major camera coming out. That looks like it's going to have... it's going to be an interesting camera because that one is going to have IBIS internally. Apparently, that's what they're going to be adding in that camera. There's also rumours that it's going to be sort of like what the early Sony cameras, some of the A9s I think had it, where it's a flip between using it as a digital SLR and mirrorless. We're just going to have to wait and see what that is, though. But I don't know what them releasing that camera is going to do, or with the Z series or the Z series cameras. It's going to be interesting. See just above, what was that, Jim? I'm not sure. Rick said, do you shoot portrait with 24 1.4? You can, Rick, but you have to be back far enough. You certainly wouldn't want to get close because you have compression issues. This is about the ultimate. 135 and this 105, I believe, are probably the best portrait lenses that you can shoot with. They really are. I think the 135 is probably the ultimate if you want gorgeous compression. That 105 is probably the best if you want to have a full body portrait type look. Because the compression is gorgeous that you're getting out of those two lenses. So you can shoot portrait, Rick. Keep them in the center if you can because there's less distortion, obviously. Don't put them near the edges where there's more distortion or their face will become very distorted. But yes, you can shoot with the 24. Just don't get too close. Doug got his 135 delivered today. Oh, Doug, I'm jealous. Bruce said, best Apple option for 4K video editing is the 218, I think it was, 11-inch or the 219 iPad. Oh, interesting that you're saying that. I just don't like the size, and I like to use, I mean, I suppose you can use these, but I do still like to use a mouse. I do have the latest iPad Pro. I just don't like using it, Bruce. I suppose it's a personal thing. So at moment says, I got my 135 the very next day and I'm in the UK. Yeah, tell me about it. We're not getting the Australian love, that's for sure. Noel says, or come to Korea and you can get some black market deals from Hong Kong. Sounds good. I'd love to come to Korea, Noel. What else have we got there? Nivak said, strange that the 24 GM is on pre-order. I got mine in late October from B&H after a September pre-order. Maybe it's later labelled as back-ordered. I'm not sure what the hold-up is about that. But it's definitely not in stock anywhere here. When I contacted Michaels the other day, I thought I'd just ask them about it. They said there's a minimum 4-week wait if you order a 24. And they're never in stock. And Michaels is one of the biggest camera stores here in Australia. They're never in stock either. So, you know, they wouldn't be in stock in any camera store here, I wouldn't think. Aaron said, can you show your screen? I think I messed it up again. Sorry, guys. Noel said, plus Sony is making everyone else's sensors now, apparently. Yep. Rick said, the only camera better than the a7 III is the a9. I agree. Unless you want resolution, obviously, and then you go for the a7R. Doug said they have been making all phone sensors. That's right, they have. Their sensor technology is amazing. Hi, Tony. Rick says, I used to love Canon, but now looks like I have stopped trying. Yeah, I don't see. And like I said, when you're looking at those images I showed you early on, you can't tell me that those colours that are coming out of Sony aren't nice. Jim's got the Panasonic sensor there. There's a link there. But it keeps changing. Every time I look in links, it's saying, is that... I don't know if I can even open that, can I? Open a new window. Let me just see what that's showing. So the link that was just sent there by Jim is showing that it's this one. The Panasonic S1 probably uses this sensor, which is the IMX 410 sensor. So there's stacks of stuff out there, and I think, and I do believe this is the case, that I think that there's so much Sony hate out there that the Nikon people and the Panasonic people just do not want to admit that it's probably a Sony sensor inside their camera. Same as Fuji. I mean, Ken would hate it. And I just don't think they want to admit it, and that's why. But it looks like all those cameras have got Sony sensors. I'd like to be proved wrong, but no one can. Noel said, 197 people here, I can only get 10. Yeah, thanks so much. I love how we have such a great community now in this. Got 110, 114. Thanks so much, guys. I love it. Bruce Jones said, see YouTube. Aaron says, I've been using the iPad for photo processing for about 6 years. Apple Pencil is great. Yeah, I've got that too, Aaron. I just don't like using it as much as I like using my massive screen. And I know you can connect them to the computer, but I don't know. I just like to do it on a computer. But I've got, like I said, I've got the iPad Pro. I just don't like using it. Paul said iPad might work for photography if they could get mouse support. Yeah, I really do miss the mouse. Look, I still use the pen, but I also use the mouse as well. I like to use both. Apple Pencil is way better than the mouse. The pencil is your mouse. Yes, it is. Erica said, hello, just joined. Great to see you in here, Erica. Scott said, it's funny, no matter what brand you buy, Sony wins. They do, exactly. Aaron says, I hope, though it is a Sony sensor in my Fuji film. Sue said, what software do you use on your iPad? And he'll answer that in a minute. Aaron said, I have a video on my YouTube channel. Well, there you go. So if you go into Aaron's YouTube channel, just put the link down there, Aaron. If you have a link to that, he's got a video on that. So at moment says, David, are you editing with Lightroom or Capture One? I'm editing with Lightroom and Photoshop. I've got Capture One. I've opened it, but that's as far as I've actually got with it at this stage. All right, so let's go up to the next story. I just wanted to quickly show this. What time are we on? 102. 102. 135. So the next story is this, and I just thought I'd share this, that there's a new live cover if you do have the Sony 135. I'd love to know your opinion about these. I never use them. I know Aaron has put one on his a7 III, he put one on. I couldn't be bothered, honestly. I just couldn't be bothered. But, you know, there is one there. It sort of looks cool because it's graphite, and I suppose it does protect it if you damage it, like it won't scuff and mark like the lenses actually do. So if you did want to sell it, it might be a good idea to have that. But you can order that now. It's New Life Plus Guard, apparently. And it shows you some different ones that are down here that you can look at as well. But, you know, interesting. Let me know what you think about it. Like to know if you think it's worthwhile. But anyway, that's that one. Next story is going to be this, which is 10350. Next story is this, that it's an SR5, so it must be fairly true, because usually the SR5s tend to come true, that there is an upcoming Samyang 45 1.8 lens. Samyang have been hitting a few runs lately, haven't they, with their lenses? Their 85 1.4 looks outstanding from the results that I've seen on that, and in fact, I'd love to test that lens. It really does look like it's going to put some pressure onto the G Master 85 1.4, and I know it's only 900 Australian. I'm not sure what that is in the US. It's probably about 600. But this lens looks really interesting as well. If you like that 45mm lens as well, if you like the 40mm, this is a 45, so it is getting much closer to 50, but it certainly is another interesting lens that we're getting on there as well. Aaron's just said that he actually has a video on those live guard, because I know Aaron used that on his a7 III, so you can check that out on Aaron's channel. He'll probably put the link down below there as well. So anyway, that looks like it's going to be coming soon. It's a 1.8 lens. Cool. So that's just something I wanted to share. And the last one is this. Let me just put the time in. 10508. This just shows that all of this rubbish that they keep talking about the, you know, the Sony mounts can't take, the FE mount can't take these fast lenses. This is on Kickstarter, so whether it actually comes true, we'll have to wait and see. But it's a 50 1.1 E-mount lens will be launched this May on Kickstarter. It just says new bokeh master is coming. So interesting. Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that. This lens is the redesigned version of the previous APS-C lens. So is this full frame? No, it might be just a E-mount. I think it's an APS-C lens. So it sounds interesting. And due to the fact of the way the APS-C works, that could be a really nice lens. It's probably going to be manual focus, I would say. But either way, saying that you can't have all of these amazing lenses coming out is not true. Aaron just shared his decals review there too, that guys can pop over and have a look at. And that is the last one of that. So I'm going to open up to Q&A. Let me go Q&A. We'll have a little bit of time for that. What is it? It's 1:06:30. So let's open up to Q&A, guys. Let me come back to where I went from. Let me go back to here. Aaron, I went past that before. Yeah, I did discuss that. Paul said 27-inch iMac 5K better than an iPad. And I agree, Paul. That's what I'd be getting. Something like that if you want the ultimate editing for video and also stills. I agree. But others are saying they love their iPads. I don't want to use it for that sort of thing. But it's a personal thing. And that's the thing. Toby says, Sony already makes a GH5 sensor, so it's definitely likely they made the S1 sensor. Yeah, I agree, Toby. I think it's just the deniers just don't want to admit that they're using Sony gear inside their cameras. So at moment says, David, are you editing with Lightroom? I mentioned that before. I edit with Lightroom and then I go into Photoshop for the higher end editing. I have Capture One. I bought that really just to do some tethering and I just haven't got around to doing it. But that's what I got that for. What else? Tim said, what do you think the difference would be between the a7000 and the a9II besides sensor size? Well, you'll still probably be limited in the number of images you can shoot. The A9 will have, well, the A9 now has 20. The a9II may push that up even more, maybe 30. We don't know. They're going to obviously add some things on that, so that's going to be a huge thing. Noise is obviously going to be a big one as well. You can guarantee that the a9II will be better in noise than what the a7000 is. You can't beat the full frame sensor size for noise compared to the APS-C. That is just technology. You can't beat that. There's just no way around it. You're gaining more light on that, so therefore it is definitely going to have less noise. So that's one thing that will be there as well. Likely that the a9II will have better focus. I mean, who knows what the a7000 will have. It may be equal to what the a9 now is, or it might be just as good as what the a6400 is. We don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. But I think clearly the a9II will probably have definitely faster performance. It'll have a much, much bigger buffer. It'll have better low light noise, things like that. And it may even have more megapixels in the sensor as well. There'll be a big difference, a massive difference if you're dealing with still photography. What else have we got? Aaron said, this is the newest video. Okay, yeah, that's that. So look at that if you like. Nevac said, Fred Ranger, the 24GM is my favourite lens right now. I mainly shoot landscape and it takes great astro. Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about getting a GM as well. Tim said, David smashes his lenses so much that the lifeguard wouldn't make a difference. I've babied this one so much because it's lent to me. So I really look after anything that's lent to me. But the lenses I purchased myself, yes, I am pretty bad. But I still can't believe, though, I haven't got it here. The Tamron has held up really well, though, for me. The Tamron is looking pretty good. So I'm amazed at that. The Batis has been outstanding. My Zeiss Batis 85, for the amount of use and stuff I've given that, it's been incredible. But then other lenses, I haven't got any more here, but other lenses, yes, do look pretty beaten up. But I am babying my 105 because it's not mine. Let me just come back to the questions. Aaron said, how I got the video of those. Oh, yeah, he put that up, yep. Rick said, will the Samyang be AF? Well, I'm just checking back there. It doesn't say. Yeah, it doesn't say. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe, because I mean the 85 1.4 is the new one that they've just brought out and that's an amazing lens. And apparently the autofocus is terrific with it. Gerald said both Mikoton and Zenith have 50 0.95 lenses for full frame E-mount. And they don't cost anywhere close to 5K as the Nikon one. Yeah, and that's true. Alex said, what do you guys think about the super widescreen monitors for photo editing? Well, that's what I love. I've got the widescreen one here that I love, and that's the great part. I've got another monitor next to me here, but I do have a widescreen one here. I don't know what it is. It might be a 36-inch. I can't remember. But it's the sort of low and wide, but I love it. That's the reason why I like doing it. For video editing particularly, because the screens need to be so wide to hold the timeline and everything like that on it. That's why I love the widescreen screen so much. So that 48 Dell would be beautiful, Alex. Yeah, it'd be super. Gerald said both the Mikoton and the Zenith are less than 800 United States dollars. Richard said the Samyang 85 1.4 AF is great. The autofocus isn't quite as fast as the Sony 85 1.8. But then neither is the G Master 85 either, Richard. So the 85 1. the 85 1.8 is always going to be faster due to you moving less glass around. But I don't have any complaints. Haven't experienced a terrible lens flare that I saw on a few videos. Mark said, I have the 49-inch ASA and it's absolutely amazing for video. This might even be 48 inches. I'm not sure. I can't remember. My Tamron is holding up well also. Yeah, I can't believe how good that Tamron is. If you think about how much I've used that Tamron lens, I'm surprised that that looks so clean. I really am, because it's... Missing a card. Kerry must have it. I mean, that really is looking amazing if you think about the use that I've had on that. And you guys, you know that I'm pretty rough with my gear. That's pretty amazing. I mean, obviously the Sigma 16 still looks brand new because it is. I mean, that's only just been out, and you know that's not marked either. That's looking great, but I would expect that to be like that due to the fact that it's so new. Tony said, have you experienced any dust inside the Tamron? I did. No, I've never seen any dust like that. Don't worry about it anyway, Tony. I showed a thing in last week's discussion about that it will not show. Check out the last week's live, or it might have been on Aaron's one, I can't remember, where I talked about a fly. I think it was the show I had on with Casey that was inside the lens, and that didn't even show. So don't worry about it. Dust is not going to cause issues. Jim said, but I haven't got any, no. Alex said, there is a lot of real estate to look at. I suppose if you're doing very large prints, it might be helpful. I would be concerned my eye fatigue would be sensory overload. Yeah, I'm just used to those really wide screens now. Mel said, the Samyang already had a manual version. This should have AF. Thanks, Mel. Noel said, always a pleasure tuning into your vids and live streams. I've got to go now, so have a nice weekend. It's Friday in Korea. Thanks so much, Noels. We'll be finishing in a minute anyway. Jim said, he's just talking to someone else. Rick said the A9 ranks at 92 for camera sensor. DxO mark with some 15 sensors ahead of it. I don't get it. Well, the thing, Rick, you also have to understand the way DxO works. It doesn't use real life images. They're dealing with reading and charts and things like that. I can't pick the difference between if you're dealing with low light, and this is why you do have to read those things and take it with a grain of salt, really, but I can't tell the difference between an image that's shot on the A9 and an image that's shot on a a7iii. I can't tell the difference, and that's the thing. I can't tell by looking at it. The dynamic range to pull up is still incredible. You know, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I really can't tell the difference if I'm looking at it. Then maybe if you look at it like some pixel peepers do, but I certainly can't tell the difference with it either. So I wouldn't pay too much ranking with that anyway. I really wouldn't. The a7iii might be slightly better in some aspects with noise, but it's that close that it doesn't make a difference. So yeah, I really don't understand the rankings either. I just posted that before to show how DxO ranked the sensors. But if you're looking at it in real life and you're shooting real images, you probably wouldn't tell the difference between all of the new cameras that are out there if you're dealing with just shooting portraits and stuff. Timeline on 48 just makes it simple. Yeah, the timeline for video editing on a wide screen is amazing. It really is. What else have we got? Aaron says, I took my Tamron around the world and it looked brand new. Yeah, perhaps they are just very good at maintaining it, Aaron. I mean, they say the build quality is not as good as the G-Masters, but whatever they're using as their coating and stuff on those lenses, it really seems to hold up. Tony says, I was looking for that Samyang, but finally can't wait for my 85 to arrive. Which one did you get, Tony? The Samyang, or did you get the Sony ones? 42 Pro says, love my Tamron 28 to 75. Can't wait for the 17 to 28. Yeah, neither can I to try that, actually. AT said, what about the Sony a6400? Well, what do you mean by what about it, AT? A great camera. I love using that. Check out the last video I put of Matisse up. That was shot all with the a6400, the video side of it anyway. Philip said, can't wait for the Tamron 17 to 28 to come out. And Gerald said, forget the rankings. I love my A9 images and feel I hardly ever need my A7R3. So there you go. All right, guys, that's about it for today's show. Just a reminder that tomorrow I will be releasing the low light and backlit focusing test of the Sigma 105. So stay tuned for that. If you haven't checked the previous video I put on of Matisse, check that out. I love it. I think it's one of my best work that I've done. And it really shows how good the 105 is. So stay tuned for that. I've still got that for another week, so I'll try and do some other testing. I might even try and do an IAF testing and stuff like that to show you how the focusing works. Also, hopefully then I'll be able to get the Sigma 135, which I'm excited to try as well to see how that functions. So stay tuned for that. Apart from that, guys, I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for the support today, guys. We really are building such an amazing channel here now with such a great group of people. And I've got, 124 likes. Thank you so much. And I really do mean that because it means a lot to me. Like I said, Aaron and myself are totally unsponsored, and that means a lot for us to have the support from you guys. Like I said, you're all like mates to me, and that, I really mean that. So thanks so much for that. And I'll see you all in the next video. Any questions, like I said, leave them down below. And unlike other YouTubers, I do always answer questions. Sometimes if I'm really, really busy and it's incredibly hard to get, I'll still read the comment and put a love heart or something. But apart from that, yeah, leave some questions down below. I'll see you all in the next video. G'day, guys.